so yeah. Of course, if there's anything anybody's concerned about and you want to ask us to pause it, it's doable. We could do that. But welcome to our second Salon series. This is going to be really just a sort of a listening party and discussion. I apologize, the sun is going down at my house and occasionally it's blasting me out. I am here. Look, now you can see me. I'm really here. Y'all know me, Karen. I'm Karen. I'm on the board. And on the Arise committee. So to reiterate, the whole idea about the Salon series is for us to challenge our own ideas of the canon, the classical canon, and who's been allowed in that, and to expand our own repertoire and what we're listening to, what we are ingesting as media. So to that end, I want to say I started thinking about my salon, what I wanted to do. I started by thinking of Black women poets. I was an English major, so I knew a lot of poets, and I was like, I wonder if people have set Gwendolyn Brooks to music. So she was one that I really looked for. And I did find some, but not a lot, and not something that I thought was worthy of sharing. And I looked for a few other women poets, and you know what? I think I probably went into that because the only Black woman composer I knew of was Florence Price. So I didn't even start there. I started by looking for Black women poets, who has set them to music, and I kind of struck out. And then I just Googled Black women composers, and I was like, gosh golly, they're actually a lot. They're a lot. And of the 5 that I've picked for us to talk about and listen to tonight, I only knew of 2 of them. And one was Florence Price, because she's getting a lot more play, I would say, in the past decade. So WLOS does play her. And the other one was Margaret Bonds, who I just knew of because of Melody Galloway, because of what is the first part? The Ode of the Black King. What is it? I can't remember. Anyway, so beautiful. We can't hear you, Laurel.
Ballad,
the ballad of the Brown King. So this was really fun for me to discover these women. And anybody have any questions before we just kind of start digging in? Well, let me see if let's see. That's what I want to do. So the first composer that came up for me when, again, I just really did a Google search, was Undine Smith Moore. And she's pretty renowned. And yeah, it was just mind-boggling to me. But so there's a quote at the beginning of the information that I put together that Laurel made really pretty. It's just, Black music is a house of many mansions. Blacks have many musics, and some of them relate in an extremely universal way to the human condition, said Undine Smith Moore, who believes strongly in the power of Black music to reveal the innermost parts of the human heart, mind, body, and soul. Did y'all have a chance to look a little bit at her background? Should we just start listening? Let's listen. Let's listen to the first little thing that we have. Let's see. Okay. Y'all are seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Did
So
you check
this
the
is
button when you were sharing, Karen? The
oh
button
what?
to share audio through your computer?
Yeah, I got to do that, don't I? Do I stop sharing? Let me stop sharing.
That's the easiest way. There's a way to do it while you're sharing, but yeah, when the sharing options comes open and you select your screen, then make at the bottom left it says use audio through my computer or something like that.
Well, do I do advanced and computer audio?
So press share screen. Yeah. And then that screen that pops up, look in the lower left. Did you find it?
No. Sorry, y'all.
No. Sorry, we should have done this with you.
This advanced options. No. Share sound. I found it. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was probably exactly what you're saying, and I didn't. Okay. So this is Undine Smith Moore's "We Shall Walk Through the Valley in Peace." So I love that. I love one of my favorite things about that is that obviously it was made in the past year. And how wonderful that they've found ways to continue to make music together. It also, tells me that other people are doing this work too and are trying to expand their repertoire and going back and unearthing people that should have been in the canon and were excluded for really because of white supremacy. So anyone have any thoughts on that?
Sung that. Did we sing that in ACS? Maybe I sang it in
I
college.
don't know, but I've sung it.
You have, Art?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is absolutely gorgeous.
It's so comforting, isn't it? It just feels like a balm on my soul.
Yeah.
Mm. It's the simplicity feels almost like Latin roots or something. It feels so clear, like a bell. I mean, maybe it's those young voices, but it feels so straight ahead.
Very much needed for these times.
Yeah, I agree. There's such a calmness about it and simplicity. Yeah, but it's very masterful.
Absolutely.
And of course, yeah, I saw that. And I was like, we could do this song. We can do that.
I believe we did have some Undine Smith Moore scheduled for the suffrage concert event. We had among the women composers selected for that event, I believe about 50% were women of color, and she certainly kind of rises to the top of that list for sure. If only we had been able to perform that last March, but someday.
I didn't even remember that, or it just didn't occur to me.
And frankly, we have more to do. At the risk of starting, part of the conversation part before we're done with our listening part, we have more to do on the education component of that to feature a composer like Undine Smith Moore. I think there's a good amount of sharing that we can do with singers and with our audience about who these people are that really pushed the boundaries.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess she's what I saw in my internet search was she's known to many as the Dean of Black women composers. So yeah, she's kind of like that cornerstone. Born the granddaughter of slaves or enslaved people in Virginia. So she really does have a remarkable background. So the next two composers that we're going to listen to are Margaret Bonds and Florence Price. So the thing that just tickled me and pleased me the most when I was doing this research was finding out that they were really amazing friends and really good supports for each other. So of course, I read a little bit about them and I was like, somebody needs to make this movie because this is exactly the kind of stories that we need to be hearing. But so Margaret Bonds and Florence Price both lived in Chicago, and again, both really highly trained classical composers. And they were friends with Langston Hughes. So they both set a lot of his poems to music. Let's see. I thought I still had some, there was something about them. Well, I can't find it now, but I know they did a lot to really support each other. and really sharing their resources with each other. So I guess let's see what I have. What I have here says in 1930s America, being either female or Black could present a major barrier in the classical music world. Being both made it nearly impossible to be taken seriously. But as with the example of Bond sharing her connection with Hughes with Florence Price, the two women continually supported each other, helping whenever and wherever needed. So I just think that's really amazing. And what a beautiful testament to women holding each other up instead of competing. Thanks, Laurel. All right, let's listen to Margaret Bond's The Negro Speaks of Rivers. And this is a Langston Hughes poem. Okay.
Ancient as the
Okay. That is so exquisite to me. I think it just rivals all of the canonized folks of the same time period that I really like. It reminds me a lot of a Benjamin Burton piece that I adore. All those art songs of the same era. I think it's just, I mean, flawless. It's so, so exquisite. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's a very contemporary piece, um, in contrast to the When Peace Like a River, or whatever it was we heard first. Uh,
Right. I mean, it really is that very kind of definition of the art song, um, with the really um, interesting and standalone kind of piano work
Mhm.
with the vocal score too. I mean, it's that beautiful dance between the instrumentalist and the singer. Is very different than a spiritual. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I was also reminded, I mean, we know from studying the Ballad of the Brown King too, that Margaret Bonds has such a facility between genres. And so like the way she is able to kind of weave in that spiritual, that movement that I could feel from like a spiritual tradition, into this high art, high art kind of tradition too. So that's starting to feel like a real hallmark of her work. But anyway, the another piece that I just loved that you mentioned about the Florence Price Margaret Bonds connection is that in listening to this soloist, I immediately went down a rabbit hole earlier this week of like hearing more of her work, and Black women lifting up other Black women, being such a powerful way to kind of appreciate more art, not less. It's just it was a beautiful thing. So thanks for sharing her work too.
Yeah, she was so good.
Yeah, she was so good.
Well, let's listen a little bit. We're not going to listen to everything, but we'll listen to a little bit of everything. And let's see what we have another like religious song, "At the Feet of Jesus" by Lawrence Price, who probably y'all have heard a lot of her work, or more than these other women. So let's give her a listen.
At the feet of Jesus, at the feet of Jesus, at the feet of Jesus, sorrow like a sea, Lord, let your mercy come drifting down on me, drifting down.
I thought that was cool because what I have heard of Florence Price is her symphonic work. So it's like, oh, she can do some nice, um, maybe not, that's not exactly an art song, but she can do some really other interesting choral stuff too. Were y'all pretty familiar with Florence Price? Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like super.
Did I cut out or did everyone cut?
I think she did. I wondered the same thing.
Karen cut out.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think everyone faces these challenges here and there where
Oh, yes.
we're not sure if we are currently online or not. I'm sure she'll be back in but a moment. Yes. Another fabulous soloist, though, I might add. I didn't have a chance to go down a rabbit hole with this particular soloist yet, but I plan to. And these are the kinds of people that, the kinds of soloists that we might not, see come to light if we don't just dig even a little bit, even a little bit of work.
I could play. Laurel, are
amazing.
you on a laptop or your phone?
Mm-hmm. I am on a laptop, yep.
Do you
I
want
can play the next one if we
Yeah, here, let me make you co-host.
Yeah. Let's see if I can.
Okay.
The
you're
next
co-host
one
now.
is Julia Perry's How Beautiful Are the Feet. So let me see. We shall see if this works for me. Share sound. So I'll be watching y'all to tell me if you can hear the audio here.
We cannot hear it, Laurel. Oh,
Is that better?
no. Are you sharing audio through your computer?
Yes.
Here, Karen's back. Maybe we can give it back to her. It's not.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fun. It
Not
happens.
good enough.
It definitely does. Okay. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Right. Sorry.
You've reverted
when
to
you
participant
left.
status.
Okay, you're back now.
Okay. Okay, Julia Perry, whom I never heard of.
Yeah, me neither.
Thank you.
just lovely, you know?
That's a pure tones, those sopranos.
Yeah. And again, I think it's just really cool that more and more people are trying to be inclusive in what they're producing and performing. So let's see. And I think the next piece is hers too, right? Yeah, Humunculus CF. This is not a choral piece, but I just thought it was so cool and wild. And there are a bunch of cats at my house that are just running around and all kinds of chaos. So let's hear a little bit of this other piece though. again,
Very-
it's not a choral piece, but I just adore it. And for me, I find it just really surprising. It's so bold and definitely not written for commercial appeal. And it sounds so modern and so cutting edge, even today. I mean, it's kind of it is. My mind is blown. My mind is blown. For me, it's mind blowing.
What year was that written?
Let me see if I have it.
I mean, you said these people were early 20th century?
Well,
It's 1961 was the time that was produced, and I think apparently it was recorded in 1964 or 5. And the person who was conducting that group I was just reading said that she was very tall and she was very nice and approachable and didn't make us feel nervous as young musicians, which I thought was such an interesting kind of commentary on kind of like how we might be nervous or protective of her as a Black woman. And she walked in there and don't worry, she did not intimidate those young musicians. So that was a delight to read about.
Who was that composer again?
Julia Perry. She wrote some symphonies. She was pretty prolific, but that Homunculus was considered a groundbreaking piece for 10 percussionists. So yeah, I just, again, it's really phenomenal for me to think of her writing work for herself that pleases her, that is feeding her soul, that's not necessarily, that she's not going to be able to sell for a lot of money. Any other thoughts on that work? What did y'all think?
I was just looking to see
I would
if
just say that,
Homunculus
like you,
has sorry, Laura.
yeah, say again, Anna. No, you go
I
ahead.
was just looking to see what the definition of homunculus was. Homunculus is a very small human or humanoid creature. So I'm not sure what homunculus. It looks like it's a word she made up, perhaps.
I wish my 16-year-old grandson percussionist could have heard that.
Yes.
I
10
he can.
percussionists.
It is
Wow.
on YouTube now. So
Yeah, I was just struck, Karen, by what you mentioned about kind of the surprising nature of that piece. And it almost felt like, that piece was about 5 minutes long, and I felt like I was surprised every few seconds. Like if the intent was to offer more and more, she kept us on our toes, and, what a journey. So cool.
no. Yes, really, really cool. The last composer that we're going to explore a little bit is Zenobia Powell Perry. She died in 2004. And we're not going to listen to all of these songs, but what I've connected us with is a song cycle on poems by Paul Laurence Dunbar. So we will give it a little bit of a listen.
The river sleeps beneath the sky and clasps the shadows to its breast. The crescent moon shines dim on high, and in the lately radiant west, the gold is fading into gray. dying day. While in the south the first faint star lifts to the night its silver face and twinkles to the moon afar across the heavens' graying space. The murmurs reach me from the town and shakes her mantle darkly down.
I mean, I would say also just so exquisite, so delicate and lovely. Go ahead, Laurel.
Oh no, I was just going to comment too that it just feels so incredible to me that that's not part of the canon. That feels like that would be in every senior tenor's recital. That was remarkable. I hadn't listened to that one yet. That was really lovely.
Yeah, listening to all of this, especially with y'all together all in a row like that, I have to say I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm angry that this has been withheld, that it's not part of the canon. And it kind of that kind of snuck up on me a little bit tonight. I had that feeling like, yeah, wait, why has this not I mean, that's what it feels like to me, like it's been just purposefully withheld. That makes me mad. I guess that kind of feeds into one of the discussion questions I wanted to start with, which is, were there any surprises in regards to this work for y'all and listening to this? So I am kind of surprised that I'm angry right now. But I guess I'm not that surprised because I kind of walk around angry. But for other people, what was surprising to you, or what are your general thoughts? Go ahead, Melody.
Well, not really surprising, but just the pieces were all beautiful. And the percussion one was simply very interesting. They were all, I know they were quite sophisticated. I mean, they are equal in scope to the prominent white composers. They're, there's nothing to look that you could look at and say, oh well, so, it probably was withheld because white, they didn't think it was consequent, and they thought it was inconsequential. That it wouldn't be, well, it's just Black composers. It was not considered worth mentioning, really, and worth teaching about. But the thing is, they're equal to all of the famous white composers and compositions that people are more familiar with.
I definitely agree.
I think I was surprised at the sophistication,
Mm-hmm.
the contemporality of many of them. And like you, Melody, the percussion piece really stood out to me as extremely unusual and creative. I expected more on the lines of the spiritual that we heard at the beginning, instead of this very contemporary, extremely gifted compositions that we heard.
and that's certainly, you know, part of our inadvertent probably training, you know, that we feel like or I would say educators maybe are sharing a certain body of work that we are kind of learning is the best and like the most sophisticated and the most curious and the most experimental perhaps, but you know, we continue to learn and find new pieces that surprise us, just because we don't know them yet. It's shocking. And I would say too that another piece, I mean, I absolutely understand your frustration, Karen, and your anger at having missed out on some of this for the first, you know, for me, like 40 years of my life. And I'm also feeling like a profound like sadness about the works that will never come to light too. I've thought that so often about works of literature and certainly now about music. Last month when we talked about the works of music that were lost from Scott Joplin, you know, just because we have no written record of them, we have no way to reproduce them now. And, you know, there's just this sense of loss that we all feel about some of those pieces that are just lost forever. So, and I'm sure that's not unique.
Yeah. You know, I'm thinking it would also be so cool for somebody to make a movie of Julia Perry, because that percussion piece is so risky. And I think that really flies against what we think of for women composers in general, but especially for Black women composers. I would think, you know, that they felt more boxed in and having to be more careful. And she just, wow, yeah. I mean, I can't think of anybody who would rival that. I know a lot of people that are fans of Philip Glass, you know, and I think, well, she's doing something just as phenomenal. So yeah, I think the range of these women is really pretty amazing too. My next question that I thought I would pose to y'all is, what do y'all think is the overall purpose of having suppressed this? I mean, and I would say it's, you know, very purposeful suppression. Why has this been excluded? I mean, obviously there's the white supremacy at play, but what is the purpose of suppressing phenomenal art? I would say that part of what my thinking is that the white patriarchy, white supremacy patriarchy has really pushed this idea of Black exceptionalism and has allowed there to be known Black excellence in certain ways and in very controlled genres. Like Scott Joplin is a great example. Scott Joplin, it's okay for us to like Scott Joplin's ragtime, but not as a serious composer. That wasn't allowed. And I also think that a big design of it is that we're not, as white people, we're not really supposed to see Black excellence and Black joy and love. We are supposed to only kind of very limitedly see the stuff that makes us feel icky, the pain, the poverty, you know, that stuff that connects us with our own shame. The shame makes us not do the work. The shame is paralyzing. And so we step back. And then the white patriarchy just keeps going and going. Those are my thoughts, that we're not really supposed to see Black joy and Black excellence. Anybody else have any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I do. And hi, everyone. I apologize. I was almost an hour late. My mother had a dental emergency and I just got back. So Karen, I'm really sorry. I had planned to be with you from the top, but
well, we're glad you're here.
Well, I texted Laurel. I said, "Are we still together? Or are we still going on?" So anyway, and I don't know, since I missed the earlier part of the discussion, but there's a lot to be said for how Blacks were characterized. White people not only had a view of Blacks and Black life that was reinforced, was even at first described by movies like Birth of a Nation, D.W. Griffith's epic movie about the Civil War, and how that really set back any ideas of equality, because it showed them, dancing like silly people, and they, were satirized in the newspapers as the monkeys that they were, and that the lower intelligence was just perpetuated and perpetuated. And so you would never consider elevating a Black, particularly Black, like you said, a Black woman's art as anything equal to a white man's or a white person's. And I talk a lot about Birth of a Nation when I'm teaching. Here, I can turn my camera on now. Hey, when I'm teaching my music and film course, we start with that. And I talk about diversity in the film industry, but I start with Birth of a Nation. It's the KKK being celebrated. And, that we talk about the aspects of it being this phenomenal accomplishment, this pioneering accomplishment in the film industry, because it was the first full length film. But what came with that is now we have this much broader audience than the vaudeville theater was, because movie theaters are now popping up all over the country. And there were, of course, white movie theaters and Black movie theaters, but Birth of a Nation was like the first and only movie you could watch for the first, year. And it created, in a big way, these stereotypes. The Blacks were all servants in the South. They were very much looked at as almost like slaves still. So anyway, and that was 1919. And that's just one of so many examples. And Karen, forgive me if you've already covered that kind of thing, but I think that's where a lot of it can be researched back to.
No, we just started talking about that. So yeah,
Okay.
Perfect timing. We did some listening.
Yeah, I want to go back and listen to everything. And I came in on what you were saying, Art. I thought that was astute. I'm dying to hear the percussion piece now.
It's so good.
It sounds really good. It reminds me of the discussion reminded me, and the comments reminded me of Lily Boulanger, which Karen, you were in the group, and Art, I think Art and Melody. Remember when we did the French music concert? That was hard music. And we did Lily and Diana Wortham. Yeah. And we did Les Sirènes, which was the sirens. And this is Nadia's younger sister. And her music is just it's badass is what I call it. It was brass and percussion, and of course she was a white woman in France, but that was turn of the
This
century
this
as
woman,
well.
yeah, Julia Perry studied with Nadia.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nadia's like the connector of so much. That's interesting. See, nobody knows that history, Karen. I didn't know that.
Yeah, isn't that cool? That's so
very
cool.
I want to read about her.
Melody Goldberg, what were you going to say?
It's my husband was telling me, I mean, there's like a hierarchy of what people think in different ethnic groups that they should like and should not like, and that certain things are better than others. Like my husband, when he was a teenager, and he grew in, he used to listen to it. He grew up in Newark and then he moved to South Florida, but he used to listen to the R&B stations and to the Black music stations because he really liked it. And his father's remark was, "Why are you listening to that N-word music?" And that was the way it was. I mean, the fact that, they didn't bother really listening to the music or trying to appreciate it at all. It's just the fact that it was Black music. And because of that, you shouldn't be listening to it. It's not, the thought wasn't even put into it. It was just an immediate knee jerk. Oh, what are you listening to that? And the powers that be, things haven't changed. They really haven't. You think a lot of this stuff should have gone by the wayside because this was like in the 50s and 60s. But this stuff should have gone by the wayside, but it hasn't. And the mindset has not advanced. And they don't give it a chance or anything. They just immediately dismiss it and don't teach about it and don't present it, because it just, they just put it in the category, oh, it's Black poetry, it's Black music, it's Black this, so it's not worth it, without even trying it out, without everything. It's just this wall. They put it in a category, and they said it's the same knee-jerk reaction that my parents talked about our African-American woman that came to clean the house and things. I mean, I remember being just as a child, I couldn't even look her in the eye because, as a Jew, they would call them the Schwarzes, the Blacks. And her name was Mrs. Reeves. And I could not look her in the eye because I knew I was ashamed, because I knew what my family was calling her behind her back. And it's the same thing. My father liked certain music, like he liked Dixieland music, and he played it because he was a professional musician. He played trombone, but he played them with white orchestras, with white big bands. The same thing coming from an African-American band was not considered on the same plane as with the white. And it's not even given a chance. And listening to the things that you presented today and all that, I mean, it's every bit as worthy. I mean, it was beautiful. It was sophisticated. It had that percussion piece. It was amazing. And it needs to be presented. And people shouldn't think that, oh, it's written by a Black, it's written by a woman, it's written by this. Good music is good music, no matter who's writing it, and that's the part that's important. But they don't look at it that way.
Totally agreed. Laurel?
Yeah, I mean, Melody, thank you for sharing that, that extremely personal view on that. I mean, I think we all have stories like that, but thank you so much. And one of the things that struck me as you were talking was that one of the pillars that white supremacy in our country is built on is the idea of the kind of standard, the white experience, even though we don't identify it as the white experience. This is the American experience, and this is the other. And, so we can't other these composers if we perform them and listen to them at equal measure. And so like that, if we were to lift these composers up at the same rate, then we would be dismantling white supremacy as we go, because that's, you know, that's what it's built on, is the us versus them, the kind of down the middle and then the other. And I would also, yeah, I guess that's all. I mean, I just feel like the very act of listening to and performing and lifting up these composers is an act of saying that that's no longer the status quo.
Melody, are we going to do a concert in which we do that? In which we lift up Black composers, Black choral pieces?
Yeah, it would be really the second concert of that. You know, when what was it, 2 years ago in October, we did a concert of all composers of color. And I think all but maybe one piece were African American composers or poets. You remember that?
I'm not remembering it right now.
Deepness of the Blue.
That was Deepness of the Blue, remember? And I had two African American young men who were the soloists. Shane came back for that, and I got Wesley McCleary Small to come from Greensboro. He came up to sing. He's baritone, and they did the solos on several things. We did Deepness of the Blue and William Averett, and we did Moses Hogan. And I mean, that was the whole point of the concert, was to highlight composers of color. So we could do Deepness of the Blue too. That might be a cool concept now that you say that. And I could certainly include a lot more women, because I didn't, well, I think did I have Undine Smith? And no, that was for suffrage.
And Rosephine Powell, I think you had a couple of women in there. But that does bring to mind that the encore could be kind of heavily weighted toward women of color too.
And I wouldn't
That's
mind
so cool.
doing a choral concert that mixes in a couple of instrumental numbers. You know, if it's not a big, huge orchestra, but it's either just percussion, or, you know, I've done a number of things with percussion and brass, which is more economical. You know, strings are always more expensive than anything else, except an ornery bassoonist here and there. But I would love to, yeah, I could get my head around creating another concert that celebrates that.
Well, that really just goes right into my final question, and that is challenging all of us. What can we do? How can we use our privilege and our influence to promote Black art?
Well, I long for the day that we have a performance center, or we find one, or we create one, or we build one that has an art gallery right off the lobby. I mean, that's been anytime anybody at the university talks to me about this possibility, I say, well, we need an art gallery. We need a black box theater in this facility. We need a concert hall with pristine acoustics that can be adjustable for seating of 300 or seating of 500 or 600. You know, they have those flexible spaces that could accommodate dance or opera or choral or orchestral, and it's what everybody wants. It's what everybody knows Asheville needs. Everybody, you know, and is that going to be the Civic Center? Is that going to be on campus? You know, there's still talk about it. It's just really expensive. But I keep saying we need an art gallery. We need the lobby to just naturally lead into a gallery. And because what I would love to do is highlight Black visual artists, and then go in, say, the same, you know, so during the time you have that exhibition, you have instrumental and choral programs highlighting Black composers. That's just one side of it.
Oh,
Yeah, I would just, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
I was just gonna say, I mean, for me, I think just doing these little searches and going down these rabbit holes is a big deal. And changing my own expectations and challenging my I like to call it decolonizing my playlist. So because I have seriously been taught, it has been taught to me in very good schools that white men do everything best. So I have to keep challenging that for myself too. And just finding out about these women is it feels empowering, and it feels like I do have a place now where I can say, we need to check out this woman and we need to do some of her work. I think any of these women that we listened to tonight would be phenomenal to do pieces by any of them. Go ahead, Laurel.
Yeah, I was just going to add too that, I mean, to me, I feel like we are in kind of an extraordinary position. We have this ability to expose many people to new composers and artists, soloists and pianists and amazing musicians through our work with ACS. But we also have these like micro opportunities that I try to not overlook just because it's easier. Take the moment to be like, oh my God, I heard this amazing percussion piece. You have to hear it. It will blow your mind, like just to a friend or to Art's grandson, like these micro opportunities that we have. And just kind of, that's one of the things that I think is so powerful about this little series of conversations is that it keeps it front of mind as opposed to like kind of sequestering it to Black History Month or whatever. We're kind of continually learning and giving ourselves more opportunities to share at the micro level in addition to the macro. So I'm just really grateful to keep learning.
I have often wished that we had more African American members in our choral society, that we were not so white, that we were truly an integrated choir.
I think that's the hope
Amen.
that
And
we're
yeah.
all working towards. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I thought even, we tried to partner with the historically Black choir, when we did that concert, October 2018, I think it was. And that choir had disbanded a few years before that, the Reynolds Miller Chorale. Yeah. But we did talk to some members and we gained a member, at least for a time. But I think a concert that features Black composers, but also features or is maybe centered around a big old gospel, like Black gospel blowout of, I don't know, 20 minutes of incredible gospel music where we have a guest artist on the organ. And we, I don't know if we do that, maybe we try to do performances are going to look different anyway. So, what is that? There's a historically Black church. I have actually sung there before. It's right off of, I'm losing the name. No, not Mount Zion. I don't think. Maybe it is Mount Zion, but it's you can see it from 240 when you come around. Friend of mine used to be the part-time pastor. She was a white female, but it's AME. Anyway, there I tried to get some of their choir members to combine with the choir members of a church I was serving, doing music in Asheville, and it was pseudo successful. But if we got find the strongest Black church choir in Asheville and just have them come and sing with us, when we're able to do that and do that safely, and maybe develop a, a special concert honoring them and honoring us. I don't know. I'm really trying to think as out of the box as I can, to how to build this.
I'd also add that part of our work is to kind of shore up our own internal conversations, so we can authentically say that we are a welcoming and a welcome place for everybody. And I think you are doing that work right now, Art. You're part of making us a more authentically open and loving organization just by Karen digging up these resources and sharing them. And even if people couldn't be on the call tonight, being able to share that and share the recording of this so everyone can listen and be a part of the conversation. So to me, that's all part of the work of becoming the place where everyone wants to come and sing.
Yeah, and it also was part of my, initiative and longtime desire to develop the ACS Children's Choir, because I want to even look to housing that in one of the schools that has the, lower economic area, whether that be over in West Asheville or, in some partnership with the Asheville City Schools Foundation, possibly. And you get those kids involved in a dynamic and fun kids program, then you can work on pulling their parents in, and I'm hoping we can still do that somewhere down the road. And even, I think starting small and building, that's a real, I'm still really passionate about that. And I think we could sort of rule the school as far as who does children's choir in Asheville.
Yeah, I want to just add, yes, being here, doing this, what we're doing, having this conversation, which I know is not always easy. This is part of the work that we have to do, and it does make a difference. And I would hope that we're all leaving tonight knowing that it isn't just white men that can write good music. So we've expanded, and that's what we're all hoping for. I guess on the board, anyway, I can speak for the board, that we're just hoping for an expansion. We're not looking to cut people out. We'll always perform, Mozart and Bach. They'll be there, but we can expand and we can include some new people and people that should have been there the whole time, all along. Anyone have any final thoughts?
Thank you so much, Karen, for taking us on this tour.
Oh, it was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was gorgeous
Thanks for coming
music.
with me.
Thank you.
Can I get